Thank you, everybody, for coming through today for this insider talk with Justin Delaney from Warner Brothers. Just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Laura Benegatti, and I am the co-founder and CEO of the ArtBound Initiative program. ArtBound Initiative is a global career accelerator for students and fresh graduates who are trying to enter careers in the creative field. And so part of our mission is to, of course, bring incredible people to you and give you some real insider feedback and tell you how it is about their industry and their own journey. So today, of course, just to give you a little bit more information about what we're going to do here in terms of the event highlights. So we're going to, of course, talk to Justin. I have a few questions, of course, for Justin, but I also encourage you to write in that chat box questions that you would like Justin to have answer, and we'll try to get to them as much as we can. In the middle of the session, I will take about 10 minutes to introduce our program for you to understand a little bit better about who we are and what we do. And then we will come back to the Q&A and keep asking questions. You can, of course, ask questions as well about the program, but ask questions to Justin. Let's make the most of it. We've got an hour together. It will pass very quickly. So I want to make sure that you all stay engaged. So about our speaker today, Justin, incredible. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, you are, such a great force for us and such an incredible coach for our program. Let me introduce you just briefly to say that Justin Delaney commenced his career as an intern, like you all, I'm sure, will be doing in a talent agency and a development production company. In 2016, he joined Warner Brothers Studio, where he worked as the studio operations client manager and overseeing all the production filming on the studio lot. And now, since then, he's made big moves, and he now holds the position of finance manager of studio operations for Warner Bros. Discovery. So quite incredible. Justin, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Always good to be here. Always good to see all these young faces. I always say I like to give advice that I wish I could have given myself back then because I was really just shooting for the win. So
Yes, well, tell us a little bit about that. Maybe let's see. I will have maybe 3 or 4 questions for you, and then I will open it to the floor and I will be reading questions through the chat. But maybe let's start with the beginning, right? Like tell us a little bit about, your journey. Like, of course, we want to keep it contained, but understand a little bit about your journey and how did you get, to work in such an incredible company after those internships? Like, we want to hear your story.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I literally owe everything to my internships just because when I came to Los Angeles, I didn't have a film degree. I went to school for theater. I did have a second degree in organizational psychology, so that's business. So theater and business, where does that fit in the world of entertainment? So with these internships, my first one was at a talent agency, and that's really where I learned the different, actual roles, the movers and shakers within the industry, the lawyers, the managers, agents, producers, and that's where I really began to learn the industry and been able to talk. I can talk to people now. Like I know terms, I know where to start to learn. So I owe all of that to that first internship. And then my second internship was in development. And from that, you really learn, it goes into the very beginnings, the writers, um, the money that needs to be raised to go into a film. And you start to
Right.
learn, okay, it doesn't just start with the script. It starts with, the person's idea. And then it really starts with the money because nothing happens without money. So, yeah.
That's the reality. So how did Warner Bros come about? Like tell us a little bit about like you got your couple internships, right? It's like giving you a really great foundation, and then how do you get that job?
That's a great question because I didn't just jump right into I love your welcome because it's like, oh yeah, Justin started as client manager for studio operations. That is not how it happened. I started as a tour guide. Um, I knew I just needed to get in the door. One of my superpowers that I say I have is that I'm resourceful, right? So I just knew once I got into the door, I could figure out how to finesse my way into some new opportunity. So started off as a tour guide. The interview process was auditioning. I was like, I finally get to use my theater degree, use it, got the job. But I never gave a tour. I was only part of the tour department for a month. And in that month, I really took every single day to try to network within the studio and moved around. So my first job was in utilities. So that's just, taking calls. Hey, this toilet is overflowing, or hey, my lights aren't working. And from that, it seems like such a small job, but I was taking the calls from all of the productions on the lot. So when studio operations came around in the interview, I could name drop. I could talk about the coordinators. I could talk about the producers. I knew all the different productions around the lot. So really helped me to get into there. And then from there, just, figuring out where I could add value and make a difference and, make my own path and just work my way up from there.
I mean, this is so cool and inspiring because I feel like a lot of our participants, and I know a lot of you out there probably think that you gotta kind of have to start from something that feels already super glamorous from the get. But it's really cool to kind of understand that that's actually, there's so many ways, there's so many shortcuts, right? And I agree with you, right? Once you're in the room, you're there. And then it's
Yep,
like you can just network.
yep, exactly.
I love that. I love that. And of course, so tell us a little bit more about like your job now, like what, so because you really came from like, studio operations and then you kind of took like, I think you did your MBA, right? You kind of went back to, focus a little bit more in business and now like kind of working towards more of the finance side. Like tell us a little bit more about your current job now.
Yeah, so currently finance manager for studio operations. And it's really funny that this is my role now because, like you said, I was a client manager. So I was in charge of the productions, making sure everything happened on the lot and worked together on the lot. Now it's my job to still do that, but from a different standpoint. Now it's, how can I do that while making money? How can we expand? So it's like, okay, we have a studio in Burbank. What if we have a studio somewhere else? Where can we have a studio? Um, what would be the best location? How can we make money? How does that work with production? So it's a lot of different questions that all kind of pull back to my days as managing the studio because you have to think, how does this work somewhere else? Um, so yeah, it's that, and I'm managing the studio here and in London. So it's
Really?
that's a that yeah. So that's a different experience for me because I have been to the London studio, but if anyone knows about Leavesden, Warner Brothers, it's mainly everyone knows it mainly for the Harry Potter tour. But the flip side is the actual studio, which is where Harry Potter was filmed. And for now, it's where all the big Warner Brother features are filmed. So I've never been on the actual studio lot. I've just taken the tour. So it's funny being the finance manager of a place I haven't been to yet. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think like what would be really cool for us because before I knew you, I had kind of this idea of what Warner Bros was, I had like I imagined it. Can you give us a little bit of like just an overview of like what are the activities, what are the departments, like just for people to understand better because it's such a huge company and I'm sure it has hands in a lot of places.
Yeah, I mean, the Warner Brothers, the reason that I love working in the studio is because there's no shortage of opportunities. So I'm within the realm of a studio. This is in Burbank. That's it. But within the studio, you have WB TV, you have WB Features, you have WB Games, WB Marketing, WB Animation, all of these different parts. But beyond that, you have TNT, you have Food Network, you have HBO Max, you have all of these different elements that go into a studio that are all separate. They're separate entities, but they all fall within Warner Brothers Discovery. So I mean, it's pretty much anything you can think of. That's why when anyone's in entertainment, I always suggest, hey, like take business classes, take some marketing classes, dabble with different things because you may want to be in entertainment, but there's also different industries within entertainment that you can always fall into.
That's true. That's true. I like that because I think people always tend to just go for like the production companies, the studios, right? Like I would recommend everybody to utilize maybe even a place like ChatGPT to come and be like, what are all the companies that exist in entertainment? And when you type something like that, like you have a range, an array of different companies and different support, right? Also supporting companies that you could kind of come into and and get the connections, right? Which is what's important. So maybe just I have so many great questions already, but I want to ask like one last perhaps is like, I think it's really interesting to hear your story because I feel like it was not linear, right? But like maybe is there an obstacle that you could talk to us about, like something that you faced that was like difficult that you were able to kind of turn around? Because I feel like we always talk about the good things in front of everybody, but like I think it'd be good to also talk about the less the less enjoyable stuff and how you turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the opportunities have always been there, right? But it takes a little bit extra to make yourself available for those opportunities. For me, it was being able to advocate for myself. I didn't like confrontation. I didn't like anything that felt, awkward. So just thinking back to when I first started in studio operations, it's like, okay, I'm bringing all of this value. Like I have these ideas, I've implemented them, but I'm still like at the same level. At a certain point, it was like, wait, this is, I have a question. And like, I should be getting more, right? I should get a raise. There's another promote. Like, what can we do here? And from that, it kind of sparked. I don't know if it was just a new level of confidence, but it's just like, okay, I can be as good as I want to be, but unless I say I want something, they're not going to give it to me. And that was probably the biggest hurdle I had to get over. But that was all me. Once I got over that, it's like, okay, let's move to finance, something I've never done before that people, get degrees in and like go to school for. Let's say I want it. And then they just gave it to me after. I was in my MBA, so it's a little bit different. They didn't just give it to me, but they gave it to someone who had zero experience in finance.
I love that. I love that. I think it's actually a common connection of ours who told me this, Shonda Lombard, who said, "Closed mouth don't get fed," and I think
Exactly.
that's a real one. So I appreciate that. So I mean, I have more questions, but there's so many great questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and like jump in. And by the way, everybody, just quick reminder: we're not gonna do unmuted questions, right? Everything has to be in the chat. And I will aim to get to all your questions, but of course I cannot guarantee because there's going to be a lot of them. So there's a question from Ileana that's asking, can you offer some networking tips for interns who are just starting out in like companies like Warner Bros? Like, how did you make connections in a company where you didn't know many people yet?
Yeah. So I always talk about my concept of like moments, right? So you have different moments in your life that are you use to spark a conversation. I always use LinkedIn to reach out to people the first time, and then I'll spread out and like talk to them in person. But I always start off with LinkedIn just so they can briefly check out my page and learn a little bit about me. So when we do meet in person, they have something to go off of. But my moment is always something like when I was in school, when I first started school, it's, hey, I just got admitted into UCLA Anderson. I don't know exactly what I want to do with my career, but I know I'm getting my MBA. I would love to chat with you and, see what you do so I can consider that. That was my moment. And then, when I'm graduating is, look, I'm about to graduate. I know exactly what I want to do. I want to do finance, blah, blah, blah. I would love to meet you and see what your company has to offer and if you have any insight, just little moments like that. And you always have moments when you're doing your internship. That's You have so many moments because it's, hey, I have an internship in New York, I'll be there this month. I would love to meet you. My internship is right down the street from you. Maybe we can stop and get coffee. Or when you're about to finish your internship, that's your moment. They try to catch someone before you leave, so it's different moments. And with that, it gives them something to talk to, it gives them something to grasp onto, and more likely to respond to you.
And I'm assuming that probably from a lot of those messages, probably you've got a lot of them who didn't respond, but that's okay, right? Like that's part of the game, I'm assuming.
100%, 100%. You can expect maybe, I mean, even me, like I love like responding to people, chatting with them, answering questions, but I can't get to everyone. So,
Exactly.
and I just keep that in mind, that you're busy, you're in school, you can't reply to everything. People in the industry or in any business are the same way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So there's a question from Oscar that says, looking back, are there any habits or approaches you wish you've developed earlier in your career that have proven valuable over time?
Um, Definitely. I mean, it goes back to networking. When I said earlier, like I was just, shooting at things, I was one of the type of people, I'm from Virginia and it's not an entertainment hub, but I was looking to go into entertainment. So I grew up just thinking, going through school, they don't know like the entertainment industry. I can't really ask for help. And when I came to LA, I brought that same mindset. I can't really ask for help. I gotta figure everything out for myself. And I really wish I could have, reached out to people, people from Virginia or anywhere that's not really an entertainment hub. They love to like say, "Oh, I have a connect in LA for you. You should meet this person." And all of those contacts, I was just like, that's probably just a friend you had. They probably don't do anything. But at the end of the day, those people could have, helped me and made it a little bit easier. Um, I went two years in LA before I got into the industry. So that could have been, 1 year if I just asked someone for a little help. So
I like
definitely.
that. Don't hesitate. I like that. That's a good. It's always good to reflect, right? I have also a lot of answers for this question. So great question, Oscar. So there's of course the question that I'm seeing over and over about internships at Warner Brothers. Like, tell us a little bit. I know this is not exactly, of course, you're not HR, and I know that everything, but tell us a little bit how it is. I know it's probably a very big company, very centralized, right? So people are kind of curious to hear when is the best time to apply and what does that look like? What's the best way to get in?
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about a studio is that they have internships throughout the year. So they'll have the summer internships, spring, fall. So it's pretty much nonstop as far as internships. Just go to OneofBrosCareers.com. I think that's the website. You can Google it, it'll come up. But they have all the internships there, and that's just a pretty standard application. We also have I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's a internship program that is international. So, for instance, for HBO, like House of the Dragon, one internship they had is that you could be a script assistant, and they pay you. The internship pays you, not the production, but you work on production, and the goal is that the production will eventually hire you. So they have different
Wow.
programs like that. Um, yeah, that's as far as like being international and interstate, that's what we have. If you live in Los Angeles, we have programs where pretty much every summer you come to the studio and you work in a different division of the studio. So it's an ongoing internship. So there's a lot of different opportunities, and it's the same pretty much at every large studio.
Amazing. Do you know if there's like any advice that you could give? Because, let's be real. I'm assuming there's thousands of people who are applying to those types of opportunities, right? Is there any tips? I know you're not necessarily hiring on the junior level, right? You might be hiring maybe on more senior level on your end, but do you feel like there's any tips that you could give for people to stand out? And actually, I think it kind of comes into a lot of the questions from a lot of the students saying like, what to do to stand out, right? When you're just beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like okay, so first step, and a lot of people hate when I say it, is to get your LinkedIn professional looking because anyone looking at a resume, that's going to be the first thing they do is look at your LinkedIn. And if they see that's not even built out, it kind of show yeah, it kind of shows, okay, they're probably not at the level we want if they don't even have a LinkedIn set up. So that will be first and foremost. Again, back to LinkedIn, it shouldn't be bias in applications, but there is. So if you reach out to someone, like you see these internships, you find out who the hiring manager is, who's within that company, reach out to them. It's in there. They've seen your name before. Even if they don't remember it, it's in their mind. So when you see your resume, it's a little plus for you, plus one in your favor. So yeah, LinkedIn, definitely get that set up.
I like that. I like that. And I like the advice that you're saying, which is something that we're also saying a lot to our participants, which is also research on LinkedIn who are the hiring managers and try to contact, right? Because that's the best way. If you can bypass the big application pool and go direct to the hiring managers who are ultimately making this decision, you got it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess there's a question that I think is, a lot of the questions have similarities. So I'm gonna kind of ask. One of them is asking maybe some key skills or experiences that you would recommend for, aspiring professionals that want to get into this industry to stand out. Like, is there maybe like a couple of things that you like to see on resumes?
Um, I I go back to like the very basics, right? Because I any job will train you on that job. So I go always to the basics. And for instance, Excel. Like if you know how to use Excel and it's on your resume, like you're proficient in Excel, that's for me is a plus. And maybe it's the business side of me, but it's always like that's the basic basis of it. Every company uses Excel, whether it's, simple data entry or actual analysis. Um, Even when you're doing, cover sheet, call sheets, like it's an Excel format. So it helps. But that and then I would say I like, yeah, it's just basic skills. I'm simple, and I guess because I go off of how I am. Once I get in the door, that's where I sell myself. That's kind of
Yeah,
how I look at it too. Like, give me the basic skills, show me you have some experience. I'll go look at the LinkedIn, and that's where I'll see, okay, they have their content on there. Like, okay, they're actually interested. Okay, let's see them in person, and then they can actually sell themselves where the soft skills come in.
makes sense. Makes sense. And I think that what we also tell a lot to our participants is like think about transferable skills too. Like not just like if you want to enter entertainment and production, for example, but you don't have a production internship, think about what you've done in retail or food and beverage, and like what are the skills that you've built in terms of like customer skills and like troubleshooting, very fast-paced environments, like managing inventory detail. Those are all stuff. I mean, I think I would assume that you would agree, Justin. Like those are all skills that are going to be very handy if you start in those careers, right, in production.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I even to this day, I still talk about, my job as a waiter at Red Lobster because I feel like,
I love it.
I feel like if you have been a waiter before, you can do anything. If you can remember all those
Totally.
orders, carrot, do this, do that all at the same time and get it right, you can figure out anything. So I still go back to those days.
I love that. I love that. I want to take two more questions before we do a short break about the program and then come back to the questions. I think, a really interesting question because we have people from all over the world, by the way, here, like not just the US. We have people from Australia, from places in Asia. Like it's pretty. Maybe not Europe because it would be a little bit too late for them.
Relate.
But Vulan is asking, would you recommend for a senior who's graduating to instantly make a move to a big city like New York or LA after graduating? I'm, assuming they want to enter those types of fields.
Yes. Yep.
I like that
That's what
person, straight to the point.
Yep. No, yeah, go right. I mean, yes, go right away. I
Yeah.
graduated and literally 2 weeks later I moved out to LA because I have a lot of friends. I hung out with older people than me, and a lot of them, they took that 1 year after college to save money for their big move, and then they ended up staying an extra year to save money for the big move, and then they ended up staying and having kids and starting a family, and they never really followed their dreams. So yes, just jump, go for it, and you're young, so this is the time to do it.
I love that. I love that. I did the same thing as well, so I understand it's not a comfortable thing, it can pay off, of course, if that's something that you want. Not everybody's cut up for the big city life either, right? But if that's what you want, then just go for it. And there's a great question about from Michael who's asking, do you need to create a website to use as a portfolio to present work in the past? I know that Justin, you're a coach in our program and you do review a lot of portfolios for entertainment. So yes, what's your recommendation for that?
Yeah, do a website. It basically with the portfolios, you just want to make it as easy as possible for the reviewer to get to your information, to your videos, to your content. So if it's, in a Google Drive where they have to hope this is the link that goes to the video that they should be watching, it's yeah, make a easy free Wix website if possible, and go from there. Put everything nice and neat in there.
Most definitely. And I couldn't agree more with that. Like, having a website, if you've done video projects or design projects, like it's a must nowadays. And it's so quick to do now with Wix or Squarespace. Like you can literally build it in like a couple of hours. So definitely a must if you have work, of course, and if you're a creative. So let me just do a 10-minute pause here to kind of introduce a little bit more about what our program is. In the meantime, I want you, of course, to keep asking questions as we go, because we're going to get back afterwards to responding to a lot of the questions. And thank you, Justin. I'm allowing you to breathe for a minute. So just to introduce a little bit, and I think we have some of our participants who are also on this call, so thank you for joining. So we are a global career accelerator for creatives. What we do is that we help students and fresh grads to break into the creative industries because we know that those fields are very much about relationships. And so we have, we offer a lot of opportunities and also a lot of guidance through the process. We have different destinations, different program destinations that we offer across the world. New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, where Justin is, London, where another studio is, Berlin, Melbourne, Sydney, and we also offer a virtual program in case you're not able necessarily to relocate, because we do understand that relocating to such a city also involves a pretty, steep financial, involvement, right? So we offer different internship types. We're quite focused only on creative industries, right? So we have opportunities in the entertainment and media field, of course, in areas like talent management, production, content, script, etc. We have opportunities in fine arts as well. I'm not going to read all of them because of time's sake, but you all can go to our website if you want to check it out in more details. We have several opportunities as well in marketing, advertising, and communications, which I know, Justin, you and I talk a lot about the fact that a lot of people go from entertainment to commercial quite often, right? This is something that happens. So starting as well in advertising and commercial can be a great place to be. We have opportunities in design, graphic, motion, branding, etc. And then we have opportunities in the fashion industry, fashion marketing, PR, wholesale, styling, and more. So giving you a couple of examples of like some company partners, opportunities, for example, at Atlantic Pictures in New York, a really cool production company where you can intern in production, post, video editing, script, opportunities at Picture North, a production studio in Chicago, same thing, production, post, and production admin. Example of a marketing agency, just so that we don't stay only in entertainment, in London at Raptor, which is a global marketing firm where you have opportunities in marketing, advertising, strategy, content, copywriting. Example of a production studio in Berlin called FVF with internships in video and sound editing, content writing, copywriting, magazine editorial, social media, content creation. And then finally, an example of one of our Australian partners, Milkman, a creative agency, super hip and young, and really fun brands that they work with internship types in marketing, account management, design, content, copywriting. So giving you a little bit of a just an idea of the types of companies that we work with. So there's 4 key highlights of the program. The first one is that you get a guaranteed internship placement if you get accepted, of course. The second one is that you get to join the ABI Academy. I will explain that, but that's basically some courses that you can get and coaching with people like Justin, like top people in the industry, to learn how to enter the workforce. You also get, of course, our creative network, which to me is the most important thing. And then you'll get a lot of dedicated support throughout your time in the program. To detail a little bit those 4 points, the ABI Academy is basically a comprehensive course that's going to help you for your internship and your career. It's only stuff that's pragmatic, okay? Like we're not doing too much theory in this. We have 2 modules. First module, which is going to be, preparing your profile, revamping your resume, revamping your portfolio, teaching you how to interview, and also preparing logistics if you're going overseas. And then the second module will be all about entering the workforce, things that Justin was talking about, like how to reach out to people, how to build a solid LinkedIn profile and online brand, how to handle hardships, because it's not all unicorns and rainbows, like things go down, and like how can you learn how to be equipped for that. So we're going to talk about all of this, and we'll have live interactive sessions with experts and video tutorials, prep materials, and at the end of it you'll get a certificate of completion which you can put on your LinkedIn as well as your resume. This is some examples of some of our industry experts. Justin's right there, of course, being one of our coaches for many years. You were also working with creative directors from Omnicom Group, producers from MTV Paramount, ex-senior editor at Vice, senior manager at Shutterstock, and senior recruiters as well. This is just a little short kind of selection of some of the coaches. The second part is the guaranteed internship placement. So we offer internships year round, not just the summer, but obviously, right now we're taking applications for summer. And so our internships are ranging from 3 to 6 months. They can be part-time or full-time, and it can be done for academic credit or for experience. One thing that we're pretty proud of is that, at least for our local programs, when there's no visa involved, 60% of our participants actually have had a chance to get hired post-internship, whether it was full-time, freelance, or part-time after with their internship company. So that's we're very proud of that. We have about 300 partners worldwide, creative agencies, production studios, fashion brands, galleries, etc. And those are examples of some of the bigger names that we've placed with in the past, places like CBS, Vice, TBWA, Hypebeast. But we also have a lot of really cool boutique and medium firms as well. So the third part is the dedicated support. So if you go through our program, you will have program coordinators that are going to help you throughout the entire process, from setting up interviews with firms to line up your internship, to like making sure that we review your portfolio, your resume, etc. If you're going abroad, like let's say you are in Australia and you want to go to New York, we're going to help with the visa, the insurance, the housing, everything we'll coordinate. And then once you get to the city, we'll have also in-city coordinators that are going to do events and that are going to help you navigate, the local scene and make sure that, you're like really an insider in the city, because, sometimes it can be stressful to move to a place like LA or New York solo without knowing everybody. Like, we'll make sure that you have a crew. And then finally, the ABI creative community, which to me is the biggest investment, in this program, the same way that it should be the biggest investment in your studies and your schools, because this is really what you're getting, is the alumni network. You're getting a lifetime access to our member app, where basically we have about 1,000 people who are, on it, and we have 1,000 people who have done this program. So we're, pretty small, which is nice because it's easier to reach out. And on that app, you're getting all the time events, access to events. We're sending like job boards. We're sending also some opportunities from our partners when they're recruiting for junior roles and stuff like that pop in. So we let you know, and we're also organizing workshops, industry talks, and stuff like that. And you're able to chat on this app. And the reason why I want to talk about that is because, really our alumni is our power, and I think that's really where you're again investing into this program. And so, you're having the opportunity to talk to people that are already in the field, but that are not like crazy senior, that can be really seen as peers and that can help you navigate and hopefully help you get jobs. So just a couple of examples of, from our alumni who are like places like Saatchi and Saatchi, one of the biggest, advertising agency worldwide, NBC and Universal, which I'm not going to introduce, CBS, places like Apple as well, and other examples of like, Aiden at Netflix, Sylvia now, who's like a big manager at Google, Jay, who's working in design at TikTok, and Anastasia, who's in marketing at L'Oreal. So this is obviously just a couple of them to show you examples, and for you to really understand that, the power of connection, and Justin was talking about that, is really, really strong. So final slides, just for you to understand what's going on here. So if you are interested in applying to the program, you need to go on our website first, of course, and there will be an apply page there. You will need to submit an application form, where we'll ask for your resume. If you're creative, we'll ask for your portfolio. We'll ask for a series of short essays. Please don't write it all in ChatGPT and leave the ChatGPT thing that says, how about this one? Because we get that sometimes. Write it yourself. It will take you not too long. And then we'll ask for 2 references as well, not reference letters, just reference names, okay? Names and emails, that's all we need. Once you submit that, we'll do an interview with our admissions team. And then afterwards, we'll let you know if you've been accepted into the program or not. And then you can make then your decision whether you want to join. Something important to note is deadline for our summer 2025 internships is coming up in December 10. You have sufficient time to make that happen. You can find out, all the information that you need, including the program tuition, the scholarships, the timeline, like all the details are on the website. And you can also, of course, contact us, right? But just remember and note down this date if you want to do something over the summer. It's going to be December 10th, okay? And then just 3 last steps. If you want to see if you're eligible, because not everybody's eligible for the program. So if you want to check out if you're eligible for ABI, please fill out our eligibility form on artboundinitiative.com /eligibility. I think we'll put that in the chat right now. If you want to learn more about the program, because right now we're going to go back to the Q&A focusing with Justin, but if you want to learn more about the program and come and ask questions, we'll be doing a general info session on November 21st at 5 p.m. EST. It might not work out for everybody who's on this call based on where they are, but just to let you know, so we'll let you the link here. And if you're already ready to apply, you can go ahead and apply on artboundinitiative.com/apply. So I wanted to make sure that you all know a little bit more about what we're doing, and also because this is the way, Justin and us are working together as well, right? Justin, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience maybe working with the students at ArtBound? Justin, you're muted. You're muted, Justin. Give me 1 second. Let me unmute you. 1 sec. Justin, give me 1 second. I'm going to try to unmute. Can you unmute yourself now?
There we go. Okay, now I can unmute myself. All right.
Yeah, so maybe tell us a bit about your experience coaching the students.
Yeah, no, it's always fun. It's always just fun chatting, I love talking to people, especially across the world. Like part of my job is, talking to Japan and talking to Mexico and talking to Europe. So it's part of my job. And then I get to do it with, other people as well outside of my job, which is great. I talk to them too much already. So no, it's been fun. I like it. I like it a lot. And sometimes I learn. And again, this is entertainment. So what I tell everyone I talk to is that this is entertainment. It's a big industry, but somewhere down the road, paths will cross. So
I love that. I love that. And I've seen you say that, and it's true, right? I remember that you even met one of our participants when they did a studio tour in LA, and then you got them behind the scenes and stuff. So that's a really cool thing. So let me come back to the Q&A, and thank you all for asking so many great questions. I'm seeing that there's a lot of questions also about the program, which we'll chat in there, and I'll take some of them. But maybe coming back to you, Justin, because I think it's this is the focus of the session. Like, Andre's asking, how did you survive between internships, and like, what was the most important lesson you've learned while searching for opportunities in the field?
Oh, okay. So I will tell you, internships are not always great, right? So I talked about my really great talent agency experience. The development agency was not a good internship. It was not a good internship at all. But the fact of the matter, another thing I would go back and tell myself is that make the most of that internship. Yes, you're with them, but you're also, especially if you're coming from a different country, there's so many other, companies nearby around that you can also tap into. So if you're not getting what you need from that one internship, still do the job, still show up and like make them know that you can do it and recognize that, but also get the experience that you need. So reach out and try to, make the most of it.
Definitely, definitely. I always say that to our participants too, like sometimes the internship's gonna suck, and that's what it is, but it's also remembering that sometimes it's 3 months, and like you need to showcase also resilience towards it, and you need to understand what's in it, whatever you're into something is recoup it, if it sucks, then figure out a way to like make connections with people, figure out a way to understand their templates and what they're using, and so that way you can learn from it. So it's just like, you gotta find a way to make things work for yourself, and not just like quit and think that the better opportunity will happen. It will happen, right?
Yeah, yeah. And also, just from my experience, like having interns, sometimes it's up to the internship to make the experience for themselves. A lot
Yeah.
of companies do have a curriculum for their interns and whatnot, but we do too. But sometimes it gets really busy, and it's like we'll take you to a meeting, and you sit there and you sit through a meeting, and then afterwards, that's it. You just sat through a meeting. Be that person that says, "Hey, I was sitting in that meeting. This term came up. I don't know this term. I've never heard it before. Can you explain what that is?" Like, really, don't be afraid to like pull. Like they hired you as an intern. They committed to that time just as much as you did. So don't be afraid to like steer it a little bit. If you feel like you're not getting the most out of it, steer. Like,
Yeah.
ask questions. Yep.
I love that. I love that. So there's a question from Evie who's asking, there's a few questions, but I'll choose one because there's so many questions here. What was your favorite thing that you did at the studio? Maybe like a favorite moments that you've had with Warner Bros.
Um, okay, so one of my shoots that I managed was Space Jam. So that was fun being there with LeBron and yeah, having that final scene. So Space Jam, we had a lot. So if you ever go to a Warner Brothers like movie now, you'll see the beginning shot where they're like flying around the water tower or whatnot. That was me who helped them with that drone and everything. So I'm so proud of that. With Space Jam, that last scene where they're like walking away with the kid, that was my shot. Uh, so little things like that. Space Jam was my childhood. So to be able to have that full circle and be in charge of that was great. But I would say my favorite was working with Jordan Peele on Nope. And
Wow, that's
yeah, we
so
were just
cool.
yeah, that was cool. And we were just standing in a circle. We had finished, the scout or whatever. So we were just sitting around talking, and then he just started talking to me, asking questions, and I guess since I'm managing the studio, he thinks I know everything. He thought I knew everything. So he asked me, when was the stage built? And I was like, I don't know. I can Google it. And he just cracked up laughing. I was dead serious. I was like, this is Jordan Peele asking me a question I don't know. I was dead serious, but he thought that was the funniest thing ever. So that was probably like I will never forget that.
I love that you say that. Actually, we have another coach from who's working with the program, who's actually in development with Monkey Paw Production, which is Jordan Peele's
Mhm.
production company behind Nope and Get Out and so many cool films. So I love that you met him. I'm jealous. Uh, so there's a couple questions about life, kind of work-life balance, right? Which I think is an important topic. When working, whether in an internship or a full-time role, how do you recognize when it's time to rest, especially when you feel the pressure to prove yourself or worried that you're not working hard enough? I think that's a really, it's a real question. Let's talk about that.
It's definitely a real question. I mean, I feel like I'm one of those type of people who I wish I had been the one asking that question because when I was, in school and working or doing my internships and working, I did not have that work-life balance. I was working until, the weekend and slept the whole weekend and then recuperated and went back to work, on Monday. I don't think that's healthy. That's definitely not balanced. So now for me, yes, I work a lot, but I make sure that, at a certain time I'm done. Um, I'll make sure that if, I do need that extra 30 minutes of sleep, I will get that extra 30 minutes of sleep. For me, finding hobbies, like for me, I have a side company, a mobile espresso bar. So totally outside of entertainment, but that's my outlet. That's something that's fun to do. On the weekends, I can go to farmers markets and I just talk to people and make coffee. And that's like my, little balance right now. So, yep.
I love that, Justin. I didn't see. I'm learning things about you on this call too, so I love that. I love that, and I know you're also working with us. So I'm like, I love that you're able to do it all, but still like just always showing up with passion and feeling like I don't feel like I've ever seen you burnt out or stressed. Maybe at least not in front of us, but I think you found the right balance that you're showing me.
Energy
You're
drink.
like, this
No,
is
it's good.
this is it.
I go back and forth between energy and water. So, that's
Good, good,
another
good.
balance.
So there's a question, and maybe you don't know this, but there's a question about like whether if there's any opportunities to market movies, at places like Warner Brothers. Like, do they have like kind of marketing agencies within Warner Bros, or is it like completely outsourced? Like, do you have any insights on that? You might not, but I thought it was an interesting
Yeah, I
question.
mean, okay. So the question is if there's opportunities to like work in marketing within the studio. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Okay.
to
Yes.
market movies.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. That was when I was in studio operations as the manager. That was one of my clients, the advertising agencies, for outside of Warner Brothers as well as inside Warner Brothers. So that would be whether it's a film coming out, say for instance, the last one I did was Super Pets. So Super Pets came in and it was a crossover with another, movie. They did a commercial together. Um, so yeah, that it's nonstop marketing, especially now. Within Warner Brothers, we have this. strategy of one company. So when you may have seen it with Barbie or yeah, Barbie, for instance, like you have Barbie commercials, but then you'll see Barbie on the NBA, like everything connects, all the marketing. Each entity has its own marketing for like division. So now
Wow.
they all work together. So yes, there are plenty of opportunities to do marketing within Warner Brothers.
Amazing, amazing. So there's a great question about your theater degree, actually, because it's interesting that you did study
Yay.
theater. So how did this, how did you leverage this theater experience that you've had, and like what made you decide also, and I think that's a very cool question. What made you decide to study another degree in finance? Like why did you one day, I mean, did you one day wake up and was like, I'm gonna do an MBA, or like was it a long process? Like tell us a little bit about your two degrees.
Yeah, so theater, I mean, passionate theater kid. Like I love acting. Did it I was in the theater program in middle school as well. So that was my thing. Um, so yeah, I went to school for it. And the end of sophomore year, I was putting on plays and whatnot. And I just realized basically the plays, no matter who I cast, no matter how good I thought the script was, it was only going to be as good as like the amount of money I could put into it or raise finance. And so that kind of gave me like the idea, okay, I need to understand the money side of it. I need to understand the business behind the
Right.
creative. And so that's why I did organizational psychology, which is business, but not a full-blown business degree, which is what I wanted to do, but would have been a new 4 years. So that was
Yes.
my like compromise, organizational psychology. But yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. I think it's really cool. And it's cool also that you went back to your studies later, I think like instead of, jumping right ahead into a master's maybe. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's cool that you kind of like got some experience and then just kind of like pivoted and utilized it to kind of step up and get bigger roles, right? So that's really exciting. And I think it's smart to also learn a little bit more about the business side, right? I think for a lot of our creatives out there, because we work a lot with creative students too and fresh grads, like I always recommend and encourage you to also just understand the financials out of it, the business side of it. It makes you navigate things in an easier way, in life in general. So I think that's a great advice. You talked about the talent management, that it sucked your internship there, I know, but can you talk a bit more about your role in talent management? Because I think talent management actually, maybe it wasn't the best internship, but talent management is a very interesting field as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, so talent management was the good one.
Oh,
Development
what's
was the
the good
bad
one?
one.
Oh, sorry, was development the bad one? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So talent
Okay,
management was the
okay.
good one. Tell us about that.
No, talent management was great. I started off doing script development. Script coverage is the task. So that's basically in the States. So if you want to have your script seen by like a studio, you can't just hand it to a friend that works there, or you can't email it to them. It has to come through an agent, or the back way is through a lawyer. So all the scripts will come to our talent agency. There's only a few agents there. It was a boutique agency. So my job was to be the gatekeeper. So I would read all the scripts that would come through, and I would do script coverage, which is basically doing a breakdown of the characters, the scenes, and then giving a synopsis and then rating 1 to 10 if I think the agents should take a look at it. So by doing that, I mean, that gave me I could see scripts. I could read scripts over and over and over and over again and see what works and didn't work. See which ones the agents will pick up and not pick up. Or if I like rated something good and they would come back and say, "This was why did you waste my time?" Like I'm learning from that. And then from that, they let me actually start reaching out to managers and casting directors and pitching agents. I mean, pitching talent and whatnot. So pretty much gave me the confidence to hop on a phone call and just talk to anybody. So yeah,
That's
that
so
was a
cool.
really good one. Yeah, so much growth in those 3 months.
I love that. We have also some script development internships, and I think they're so incredible for anybody. Actually, Morgan was asking any ideas how writers can get their foot in the door. I feel like that's, for example, a great example, right? To kind of like either
Yep.
work in like script development or like go even in a talent agency, like right at the source, because as a writer, what you want is to know agents, right? Because otherwise, like you can't just
Mhm.
send a script to Netflix and be like, hey, you all, can you take this, right? You need to have to be represented by agents.
Yep. Pro tip, work in a talent agency.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So, great question. Two questions that I want to ask. Of course, we have some internationals here, right? We have a lot of people that are not in the US. Do you know if there's any opportunities to apply or do a placement, from abroad, like in the US? We do that a lot with our program. We help people come to the US with our program, not with Warner Brothers, unfortunately, specifically, but do you know if Warner Bros is open to international? Like maybe that's a question that you might not know, but do they sponsor?
They're 100% open to it. The difference is like you help the students with their paperwork and coming over and all of that. Warner
Yeah,
Brothers, if you're international and you want to work here, you have to do the work to get everything ready and prepared and make sure that that's not a hindrance in your application process. So if you can do
right.
that, then yeah, you're just as equal as everyone else. And if not more qualified, because most likely you will have, be bilingual or multilingual, which is another thing. We're a global company and we consolidate continuously, just like I am here and in London from my Los Angeles office is the same way productions are. They're here, but they have a production shooting in, Germany over here, shooting in London here, Canada over there. So it's if you can have international experience, I think it's actually an advantage.
For sure, for sure. And also don't get discouraged if people are not necessarily like, getting you a visa sponsorship. Like there's again shortcuts. Think always about the shortcuts. Can you be working for a subsidy in the country and then come 2 years later? Like it's a long game, right? Nothing's gonna happen
Yep.
at the very front of your career. It's gonna take years to build, and that's good. That's the journey, right, to kind of get there. So I think also an advice as a person who actually immigrated to America, which certainly was not an easy thing to do, which is why I launched this program as well in some ways. So there's a question from Alexandra who's asking, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, during your career, like when starting a new job, you know that you're not experienced, knowledgeable, skilled enough, but you're alongside, others who seem ahead. Yeah. How do you navigate this to constantly learn new skills in an ever evolving market?
Yeah, I mean, imposter syndrome, yeah, definitely. I came into the industry kind of by a fluke. I didn't know how I got here, but I was here and I was like, okay, we're gonna make this work. So I'm out, with production and they'll say something like, hey, we need, a lunchbox. And I know that's not, they're not talking about a lunchbox like with food in it, but I don't know what that term is. I will not let them know that, but I'll figure it out. I'll like hop on my phone real quick and sure, I'll get that, electrical box out to you. I can figure stuff out. But yeah, from hopping into finance, is like, these people, this is all they do is like numbers and numbers and numbers. And I'm like, that's not me at all. So yes, imposter syndrome, but at the end of the day, I just have to remind myself that I'm here.
Yeah.
Like I'm here, so I guess I belong.
Exactly. I love that. And I think imposter syndrome is something that doesn't really go away that much. I feel like, sometimes I'm also like, oh, why am I doing this conference with like those really great, it's something that just sometimes comes back. You just have to be okay with it and like, just remember that you are here for a reason, right? So
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
that's
I
a good one.
end up in some crazy rooms with like CEOs of different divisions and stuff. I'm like, why am I here? But then, they asked me to be there. And
Yeah.
end of question. So, yep.
I love that. I love that. So thank you all so much for being here. You have so many great questions. We've got 4 minutes together, so I think we probably will do just two more questions. There seems to be a lot of writers out here because I'm having like questions about how can you find Warner Bros. Agents for pitching, and maybe what are some good talent agencies to apply to in the US. Do you have a little bit of advice on that?
I would say for us, find boutique agencies. So that's, they may have maybe 5 or 6 talent agents that work there. Um, those are the really good ones because you end up being part of their team. Like I said, with the one I worked with, they let me even call, casting directors and stuff, which I would have never imagined. You're not going to get that in a big talent agency. So find
Yeah, yeah.
boutiques. Yep.
That's also what we do a lot. We work a lot with boutique firms because boutique firms, like, yes, it's smaller, but like in the beginning, it's the best you could do because you're like learning 15 times more than your bigger structure where
Exactly.
you would have had probably a smaller scope, right? So I think boutique is great, and you all can look. We don't have time to go through all the boutique agencies, but you all can do some research. Just do some thorough research about it. Like the best boutique agencies in New York and LA, you will find that easily online. And I just want to ask one last question because I think that's a funny question is what would be the worst way to screw up an internship at Warner Bros? Like what would be, and I think that's a great question. And maybe that can apply for any internships.
Probably like you see a celebrity on the studio lot and you like run up to them and like try to take pictures with them. And it seems
Yeah,
like a little thing, but it's like, no, this is their job. This is just their day-to-day job. The same way any of us go to work, actors they come to work and they expect to just be able to walk to their trailer or go to Starbucks on the studio lot and get coffee. So that's the worst way because it's so simple, but that has happened before. So, yep.
yeah, yeah. And then maybe one last question. People are kind of, I've seen throughout the chat, people talking about this recession and kind of layoffs and things like that. How do you think that this is going to affect, for future grads? And of course, you can't predict the future, right? But, is Warner Bros. Laying off? Is it hiring again? Like, do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing to like consider, honestly.
Yeah,
Um, but yes, every single studio is going to go through ups and downs. They're going to lay off people, and then a month later, they're going to hire more people. And
yeah,
then a year later, they'll do another layoff and just keep cycling. So it's not anything to be scared of. It's something to acknowledge and
yeah,
be aware of and just know, okay, I'm starting to see this in the tea leaves. I should probably, prepare for this. Or I see that they have this film coming out and this film coming out. So they're going to have a good year. I'm going to apply to them because most likely they'll be good for, 2025. So it's doing your research and strategizing a little bit.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like every generation that comes out of college always says like, "Oh my God, like it's a recession." Like it always is shaky, specifically in those fields that are very glamorous. Everybody wants like, it's always going to be like that. So you just gotta go for it and pursue it. It's not because the company is laying off that they're not going to hire for 6 months after that, right? So
Yep.
it is just cycles. Well, thank you everybody so much for like coming through. This was so cool. I wish we could stay another 20 minutes, but I'm conscious of time for everybody and also for Justin. Justin, you're so amazing and thank you so much for being really just real with your answers always and just generous, with you're not a gatekeeper and I really love that about you. So thank you so much. We're still 140 people on this call. Appreciate you all staying for an hour with us. We're going to send you all the recording via email. We'll send you more information and feel free to reach out to us as well to like follow us on Instagram too where we're posting a bunch of stuff there too. And Justin, we're going to keep routing for you and thanks again for your time.
Awesome. Glad to be here. And thank you for the invite.
Of course, anytime. Thank you all. See you everybody.
Thank
Bye
you.
everyone. Bye
Bye.
bye.